It's the 1st of April 2020 and we are in the middle of this coronavirus panic, or pandemic, sorry. And we've been in similar situations before, but never to this extent. And this little video just goes through and looks at them. I mean, you can read it. I'll read it out. I mean, some people find difficulty reading for all sorts of reasons. So I'll read it out while I'm going through. We have been here before. Salmonella in eggs. On the 3rd of December 1988, the outspoken junior health minister, Edwina Curry, told ITV News, "Most of the egg production in this country is sadly now infected with salmonella. Sales of eggs plummeted 60% overnight. The loss of revenue forced farmers to slaughter 4 million hens and destroy 400 million unwanted eggs, and lives were ruined." Salmonella levels in the late 1980s were too high. By making her comments, she highlighted the problem, which was eventually solved, in Britain at least, by the introduction of vaccination. But she caused an unnecessary crisis in the poultry industry and a pointless panic amongst the public. Mad cow disease, it was called, or BSE. In 1994, variant Creutzfeldt-Jakob disease, vCJD, was first seen in people. Experts predicted 500,000 deaths over the next 50 years. But on average, there's only been 5 a year in the United Kingdom. The European Union banned exports of British beef for 10 years at a cost of billions. And the virtual destruction of beef farming in Britain. I mean, some experts are still predicting a second deadly epidemic. But Professors Richard Knight and Colin Smith said that the numbers would be small. They reckoned it was caused by eating beef burgers. No. The next one to arrive was foot and mouth disease, although this is not a disease of human beings. In 2001, foot and mouth disease was identified. The Foot and Mouth Disease Science Group was set up, and on the basis of some of the computer models produced by the epidemiologists Ferguson and Co., I think they're from the Imperial College, I'll come back to them later, a wholesale cull of livestock on a scale which had never been seen before took place. Huge swathes of the countryside were brutally cleared of livestock infected or not. Massive piles of carcasses burned for weeks. The air reeked of burning flesh, with devastating consequences for farmers whose lifetime's work had been destroyed, and whole communities. The report below talks of trauma and nightmares to farmers, business owners and children. Some committed suicide. In the context of quantitative epidemiology, modelling analyses are ideally performed in consultation by a team of people with the relevant quantitative, clinical, virological, immunological skills. For disease controls and policy to be effective, there must be consensus, consistency and compliance. Stakeholder inclusion is critical to its success. the underlining in an expert's mind, several of those submitting evidence were strongly of the view that there was neither consensus among informed experts nor stakeholder inclusion in 2001. And paragraph 147, to bring a foot and mouth epidemic to an end requires advice to government both in formulating policy and on the actions necessary to bring the epidemic under control. This advice requires to be obtained in ways that the public can trust. In particular, the public and those on whom the policies will have the most impact need to have the confidence that the advice on which the policy is based is informed by the latest developments in science, and that all views and opinions that are relevant have been taken into account. Some of those from whom we took evidence were clearly of the opinion that this was not the case in 2001 epidemic. It's been put to us, that was paragraph 41, that in seeking advice, government was selective in the experts it consulted. In particular, a number of experienced people who were in a position to provide advice were not called to do so. That might be relevant in the current situation. And this is from the Cumbrian foot and mouth disease report. Cumbria obviously suffered really badly, as did the North Yorkshire Dales. The policy was based on a computer model providing a simulation of the epidemic. There has been scientific debate about the modelling approach and the validity of the assumptions about disease transmission. The detail of the model underlying the contagious culling policy could be regarded as somewhat academic. The quantitative scientific justification for the 3-kilometre cull has never been fully set out, and we learned in evidence that many vets in the field were strongly opposed to the idea. So the policy for killing everything, almost without exception, whether they'd been infected or whether they were infected or whether they were likely to have been infected by contact of other animals, was very, very controversial. The next panic was the HIV or AIDS panic, which I'm not going to go into. And then, to do with a more current situation, the corona problem, influenza. I'm of a vintage that can remember several flu epidemics. In 1957, Asian flu killed between 1.5 to 2 million people in the United States of America and 33,000 in the United Kingdom. In 1968, Hong Kong flu killed between 34,000 and 100,000 people in the United States and 30,000 in the United Kingdom. In 2009, swine flu killed 18,300 in the USA, but only 459 in the United Kingdom. But the experts had forecast that this was going to be a pandemic, but that's not how it turned out. And in 2002, SARS, which is a coronavirus, and in 2012, MERS, didn't develop into the pandemics the experts forecast, and there were no deaths recorded in the United Kingdom. And on average, 17,000 people die from flu during the flu season in the United Kingdom. That's from December till the end of April. So that's the average over a number of years. And in 2020, as of April the 1st, 1,808 people have died of coronavirus flu in the United Kingdom. Well, I've just been looking at the latest figures for this coronavirus. This is the 2nd of April, about 6 o'clock. And the number of informed cases, that's people who have been tested and found positive for coronavirus, is 33,718. And of those, 2,921 have died. So the death rate is increasing every day. But just how dangerous is it? Until we know how many people have had coronavirus. I suspect I had it before Christmas, when I was really ill for 3 days. It may be that 1 million of us have already had it and didn't report it, and it was never detected, which would give a different perspective to this death rate. But until we've all been tested, and that's really going to be very controversial, they're talking of 100,000 tests a day by the end of the month. And of course that will be prioritised for those at great risk, particularly those who are working in the health business. But to find out just how many of the rest of us have had coronavirus, it's going to take an awful long time. But until we know that, any statistics are meaningless. Now the question is, how have we arrived at a situation where supermarkets have been ransacked, the whole population has been told to remain indoors with a list of stringent reasons for venturing out, businesses have been absolutely decimated, and the stock market is down 30% in a month. And we are being told that this lockdown is likely to continue for between 4 weeks and 12 weeks.